We didn't even have to rehearse that. I was going to crack the same joke.
Welcome back to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches, citizen. My name is Noland, and you're probably wondering where Noah is and where Richard is. He's been replaced by Robbie. Hold on. I think they're coming in now. Oh, no. I'm back. Because I've always found that gimmick stupid. Welcome back to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches.
I'm Richard.
I'm Noah.
Guess what we're talking about today?
We are talking about 2013's
2013
Man of Steel.
Yes.
Starring Henry Cavill as the one, the only Superman.
Yep.
Amy Adams
As Lois
Lane. And
Russell Crowe
as Jor-El.
Right.
And a lot of other heavy hitters in this cast.
A lot of people. They had an excellent cast.
Lawrence Fishburne.
Yep, as Perry White. I thoroughly enjoyed his Perry
We'll get
White.
into
Yes.
that. And then Harry Lennox as Martian Manhunter. You would recognize him from as the General.
Oh yeah, I recognized his face.
Blacklist. If you watch the Blacklist,
I watched part of it, but
he's
I don't
the director of the FBI unit that Agent Keen belongs to, and that. Yeah. And directed by the literal one and only Zack Snyder. Infamous for his take on the entire DCEU up till now, because at the time of this recording, James Gunn, director of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, has taken over as head of the DC franchise, at least in movie form. He's become their Kevin Feige.
Okay.
And we've hit a reset button. He's kind of wiped the palette, and people have their opinions on it.
Well,
including the firing of Henry Cavill, which... I don't know. Do you think that was a good idea based on this movie?
On this movie? No.
Yeah?
I don't. I have not seen the other movies. I haven't seen his other performances. I cannot imagine that they're bad.
Mm-hmm.
I think that getting rid of Henry Cavill was probably a mistake. They might want to replace their team of writers.
Yeah. I think that's what they're doing.
Well, so let's just dive right in.
Dive right into this.
Okay, so
this movie starts off in the most awkward way possible. In our Batman review, which just went up at the time of this recording, I mentioned how tired I was of seeing Batman origin films. Well, I definitely was not expecting and definitely did not need to see a Superman birth scene in the first 5 minutes of this movie.
All right, let's
really get into it.
Let's skip that. Like I've got.
You've got pages. I've got screen.
A whole line of things that I can go down that just caught my attention.
Much
that made me laugh. So I want to go right to Zod. I want to go right to Zod.
How'd you like Zod?
Pardon?
Did you like Zod?
I liked Zod.
Okay.
I like the actor who plays Zod, although I don't know his name.
I don't know his name either.
For me,
Yep.
that's just makes it better.
Yep.
He did a fantastic job, but they missed because he could have been as likable and understandable and relatable as Thanos.
Yeah.
And let's face it, for villains, Thanos is the benchmark.
At this point, for comic book villains, Thanos is the benchmark.
Because Thanos was the villain who, when he got done making his case, you almost kind of agreed with him. You understood exactly where he was coming from, and Zod was this close. So there's something about, and I don't know, I don't read the comic books. I've never read the comic book origin stories of Superman. Did Krypton, was it always a planet of no free will? Okay, so here.
And this is something where it's Zack Snyder. If you're familiar with Zack Snyder's work, he likes spectacle, he likes dark, he likes gritty, he likes to throw these elements in that sometimes they hit the mark and sometimes they completely miss the mark. And from what I know, I don't know if Krypton was a caste system, which what this movie was making it out to be. You're born into a role.
Right.
I don't know if that was the case in
the comics.
In the comics. In any mainstream, it probably wasn't a one-off.
So here in this movie, they present this concept, right?
Yeah.
You have the first child born in centuries.
Yeah.
Right.
Of natural birth.
Through natural birth, which explained why there weren't a bunch of midwives around to help or doctors. Right? Because I wondered about that when the delivery was done. It's like, really? This dude is delivering his son? You know? But then Zod, in the end, when he's battling Superman, is saying, I was born for this. I was trained for this. I'm a fighter. I'm a warrior. This is all I do.
Oh, yeah.
And then he was passionately arguing that he wanted to save his planet. And you got that in the beginning, too. But they didn't invest enough time in this discussion of free will versus no free will, and that's where they lost it.
Yep, and that's something that's important for these types of characters, because Superman, I was telling you about this, we were talking about Bad Batch over text message, and I said that Hunter from Bad Batch is kind of a Captain America-esque figure at this moment.
Yes,
very strong morals. Those morals get challenged, and that's where the interesting arc comes around. Well, Superman's the same way, except crank that up to an 11 because he's got all the power. He's not Captain America, who is going up against literal gods and aliens from other planets. He is the alien god from another planet.
Yes,
so you have to give him that moral challenge.
Yes and no, because the Colonel was played by, was it Chris Maloney?
I think.
Is standing there trying to evaluate whether or not to trust this guy, and he asks the question, do you have America's best interests in heart? And the line that Clark Kent drops is, I grew up in Kansas. I'm about as American as it gets.
Yeah.
Right?
That's that was General, and that was Harry Lennox. Yeah.
So
at the end, yeah.
So here you have the juxtaposition of freedom and free will versus the caste system and everybody born into a role on his home planet. So why would he want that recreated on his world when he's grown up with it? And he's grown up with all the struggles. He's grown up with all the bullying. He's grown up with all the issues, and make that all very, very clear.
Very, very clear.
And he still, at the end of that, says it's better for people, right?
Yeah.
But this would have been a better movie and a meatier movie, and it would have certainly been more appealing to me if they had investigated this a whole lot deeper than they did, rather than this superficial. Because I'll be honest with you, I thought about this. It occurred to me. I watched this morning at 7 a.m. It was about 3 in the afternoon, 4 in the afternoon when it hit me.
Yeah.
It's actually, no, you had come over. Remember when I grabbed this clipboard and I started,
you started writing? Yeah.
That's when it finally, all the pieces fell into place for me. And I thought, okay, this is where they missed it. Right.
Yeah.
And so if who's the new guy? James Gunn? James Gunn, if you're going to do anything in the DC universe, put the thought into the script writing that they put into the development of the Thanos character and all of those relationships.
Well, and you loved the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
I did.
That's the guy who wrote and directed those movies. So there's potential there.
So what was my complaint on Black Adam, when the character that Pierce Brosnan played, and I don't remember any of their names, Dr. Fate, and they kill Dr. Fate off, and they're trying to make this emotional thing, Dr. Fate, I've seen
You're not invested into him,
You're not invested in him, and so what Marvel does well is they give you a movie to get to know these characters and get invested in those characters. Then if you're going to bump them off, then it's meaningful. That's what they didn't do. So if you're going to move the DC universe forward, we need the standalone movies to learn about the characters. So that then when we're going to do something poignant with them, like Black Widow making the ultimate sacrifice, we're invested in that character. You want to scream, no, don't, when it's about to happen. So,
And you could have done this, because here's the thing, you could have had Zod show, you could have had this really interesting juxtaposition where you had, Jor-El, the memory of Jor-El, which was a cool concept. Great, I love it. Although it had to be Russell Crowe's easiest paycheck, because half the time he's just going.
we didn't even. I was going to crack the same joke. Yep, we're going to tick that one off on the list down here somewhere. Yep.
Okay. The ghost could have been telling him so much about, like, because he kind of shows, but he went through with the Wakandan sand technology.
Yes.
Yes. Because I noticed that too. I was like, oh, this is, and this came out before then, so maybe, I don't know. Vibraniums from Krypton, apparently. But he's telling the story, and he's showing like the good and the bad, which as a mentor figure is probably the good thing, the right thing for him to do. But from a story perspective, it would have been better if he had been more cautious and more giving more of a warning to Clark Kent, and then have Zod come in and show him how great Krypton was back in the day under this system, because then you give Clark something more to deal with. Do I want, this greatness for humanity, or do I want their freedom above all else? Right. It would have given a little more meat to it.
It would.
So, just finishing up that storyline. Did you notice when they're being banished, the unmistakable shape of the pods they locked Zod and his crew in?
No, I didn't notice.
Okay, I'm not going to talk about it then. If you know, you know. I'll show you. I'll show you.
Oh, my goodness. What did I miss while I was taking notes?
And this will pop up on the...
okay. Oh, yeah.
I'm very unfortunate shape.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I remember that. Yep.
You'll never get that image out of your head. You're welcome. I had to see it. So did you.
I think it's probably a good thing that Krypton died. I mean, for all their advanced technology, they were a stupid people.
Yeah.
They sucked the core out of their planet and then were shocked when it imploded.
They cared more about branding than they did anything else.
Yeah. So your planet is about to be destroyed, and you're trying to figure out how to save it, so you take criminals and put them on the only escape vessel and send it off. Why not put Superman, his parents, and maybe a couple other smart people on that and shoot them to use the prison technology to save their lives?
Well, and here's the thing again, when you focus more on the action side of things and the dramatic, like, superficial layer of deep storytelling, but it's only like a layer of it, you miss out on the important thing. They mentioned the Phantom Drive this entire time. They weren't sent away from the planet. They were locked in an alternate dimension, like in the first move, like in the old Christopher Reeves movies, where they're in the mirror and it's flying through space. That's what they did. They weren't sent across the stars. They were locked in this like bubble, and then they had to escape that, or they escaped that when Krypton happens. And then I was like, Phantom Drives. What the heck are you talking about, Phantom Drives? And then I go back and I rewatch it. I'm like, oh, Phantom Zone. Good job. Thanks for not explaining that.
Okay.
So, they weren't sent off ship, but off planet.
Well, you know what? You could have saved the people that mattered instead of General Zod and his cohorts. Leave them on the planet that's about to blow up. All that tech, and they could not develop a better landing system. They put an infant on a ship, launch him, and so he's going to crash and burn, right?
Do you ever think Martha Kent gets tired of alien spaceships showing up on her farm? How much insurance money has been paid out fixing the corn crop, the corn harvest on that one farm?
I was having the same thought about Metropolis and about Smallville. It occurred to me.
It looked like a bomb. I know. An atomic bomb went off at the end of this movie.
I guarantee you that the governor of Kansas in 2013 would have invested this much money in rebuilding Smallville. And I know because I live in Kansas. This much. State legislature would have said, "What town?" Yeah. I particularly enjoyed, as I hopscotched through the notes that I took.
Yeah.
Right. The school bus going out of control. The school bus getting ready to careen over the edge of the bridge into the water. And the stop sign pops up.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Now.
All right.
I'm not the biggest Kevin Costner fan.
Okay.
However, I really liked this performance. I really liked his turn.
Okay.
And it was very interesting because after that whole bus crash where Clark saves everybody, and his dad is saying you shouldn't have shown yourself.
Yeah.
His dad is looking at a bigger picture than an adult would look at. Clark says, "Should I have let them die?" And I was expecting him to say, "No, of course not, son," which would have made it that much more complicated.
Yeah.
And he has the courage to say, "Maybe." I'm like, wow. That gave a depth to that character.
Yeah.
That because he's looking at a bigger picture.
He is looking at the bigger picture. He definitely understands what's at stake.
He takes the key to Superman's future, that little stick.
The USB drive.
Yeah, right.
Again, everything is branded on Krypton,
right.
Apparently.
Okay. And he takes it to a metallurgist at K-State, and the metallurgist can't do anything with it. Do you think that man is, one, going to let it out of his sight, or two, not tell everybody, not call metallurgist buddies, not call the United States government, not anything? He's like, yeah, no,
that's his ticket to a retirement.
No clue.
That's his government. Yeah, that's his government freaking, you know how much money they would pay for that?
Yes. Yep.
I'm sorry, that's not how it works.
So what is it? What do I keep coming back to? I think in almost every video, that we talk about these things, it comes down to the writing.
Yeah.
And oh my goodness, do these people think? Now, I got to give him credit. The trucker walking out of the bar and finding his truck on tree spikes. That was fantastic.
Adds more depth to Superman because Superman's petty. We have someone who's like, I mean, let's be honest. In terms of
he's very human.
He is very human, which is nice to see for once because of all the here we get into it. Jesus symbology in this movie. You have him sit in a pew and then, Jesus on the mural behind him, like, look, Zach, buddy, I like Henry Cavill as much as the next girl, but comparing him to Jesus? We going a little far there.
Well, the question, are they a god is interesting, but what they didn't do with the character, and I don't know if that was, I'm assuming that was a Catholic priest because they had
it looked like white collar.
Well, a lot other pastors
I know
wear the collar, but the crucifix on the wall. Notice that Clark Kent says, "I'm the guy they're looking for. I'm the guy from off the planet." It doesn't shake the priest's faith.
Nope.
It doesn't challenge him in any way. It doesn't cause him to stop believing in God. It was a very interesting take on a man, and it's just like tiny bit of screen time.
Yep.
So solid in his faith that this isn't going to shake him at all. I would have liked to have seen more of that scene.
Because you also love, it's very reminiscent of Daredevil.
Oh, yeah, I love that part.
Which was fantastic.
Yes. Every time Maddie went back to the priest to sit and talk, they owned me right there.
Oh, yeah.
It was very, very good. All right, nitpick time.
All right, let's go. Hit me.
I lived in Antarctica for a year.
I knew it! I knew this was coming. The minute she stepped off that helicopter, I knew this was coming.
So here you get... Now, okay, wait. I enjoyed Amy Adams' performance.
Honestly, as Lois
she was a very good Lois, and I really liked the way she brought out the the strength of the reporter without being pushy and overbearing.
Yep.
You're right. There's a certain amount of charm to her performance.
Yes.
Right. Not someone that you want to mess with. But when you are living in sub-zero temperatures, it takes you weeks to stop shivering. And I've told you the story before. I was standing down on the ice. I had been there for 10 months. It was August, and so it was springtime, but it was still 20 below zero. I've got no long underwear on under my uniform. My jacket's open, no hat, no gloves.
Yep.
And I'm watching people get off the truck. They just arrived, and they jump down. They're wearing their parkas. They're wearing their hats. They got their masks on. They got their mittens on. They got the thick pants, the snow pants. They've got the big bunny boots on. And they're violently shivering.
Yeah.
And I remember turning to my friend Steve and saying, that was us a year ago. Because I remember it took me a long time to start shivering. So here we get cutesy little Lois Lane. It's 40 below. I've got a little knit cap on. My ears aren't covered.
I'm wearing my Northland, got it from the mall.
Pair of jeans on, looking cute.
Yeah,
and I just went,
boots.
Give me a break. All right.
It was fun. It was funny.
So you knew that was coming, huh?
Yeah, I knew that. And the minute it's just,
Okay.
I was like, oh yeah, here we go.
Okay.
Here we go. We're getting into it.
So he decides to put his uniform on. He decides to change, and he shaves.
Yeah.
He looks so much better with the beard. Why
Yeah.
couldn't we have had a Superman
Or the beard.
with the beard?
Right?
Why not? Right? And that's like, so here I am. I'm about to save mankind. I'm going to put my home clothes on and...
Bounce it off the freaking mirror, shave.
So you were just reading my mind because I was wondering if...
That's something he does, though. That's how he shaves.
He
That's,
uses-
that's canon. He uses a mirror, and then he laser beams the mirror to...
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
That's how he shaves.
I did not know that.
Fun fact.
All right. Think back to your childhood. Think back to all of the safety lessons. If the house catches on fire, what do you do and what do you don't do? Do you remember what we used to tell you? Let me tell you what you don't do. You don't run back into the house.
Yeah.
You don't run back into the house for your parents. You certainly don't run back into the house for a dog. You don't run back into the house for a hamster.
That was
you
on
just
my,
don't.
It was
You
on
just-
my,
is
it's
this
on,
it?
it's
Is
on
that
my,
right?
it's on mine.
Right? So you're going to run into an EF5 tornado to get the dog out of the car? Are you kidding me?
Even worse, what I want to know, that highway had a ton of cars on it with a big freaking tornado headed towards them. Why were all these people out? Wouldn't that be all over? Like, we have a national weather system that goes, tornado in your area, across every radio station, across all cell phones. Wouldn't at least one of them have, like, slowed down, rolled down the window, and went, hey, guys, tornado coming, let's get out?
How about this? Do a U-turn.
Get
On the other side of the highway and drive away in the other direction at 60 miles an hour. I'll take my chances.
Oh, man.
All right. I talked about this with the Transformers. I noticed the same thing with this movie.
Go for it.
Standing in a debris field with all that crap flying around and nothing bounces off of them. They don't squint. They don't get hit in the face. They don't do anything. This is one of my problems with CGI technology.
Yeah.
Because it allows people to just stand and go, well, that barn is just spinning around me and I'm not getting hit by anything.
And the final fight of this movie did drag on for me a
Oh,
lot.
yeah. Oh,
Because
yeah.
it's all the same. You'll have a brand new Superman. There's nothing for him to really learn about in this movie. Like, he didn't use the freeze breath.
Oh, actually?
In terms of his power set. Like, he doesn't know how to fight. Like, you can tell that the people who actually had military training were, like,
Winning.
doing a tiny bit of
Yeah,
martial
yeah,
arts.
yeah.
Like green belt karate. and just beating him up, the reason he won. The reason he won is because he could out tank their damage. They weren't as strong as him, which was an interesting concept, but also Metropolis looks like an atomic bomb went off.
In Superman lore, and I don't know this, how many times has he killed someone? Because I always thought...
Not often. And that's something that was super divisive about this movie when they came out. People thought Zack Snyder was being unnecessarily edgy, unnecessarily dark for, Superman's supposed to be this beacon of hope and, truth, justice, the American way. And he has him kill the bad guy at the end. And I remember this was a big controversy when this movie came out. And it was no in between. You either liked the decision or you didn't like the decision. You thought it was great for Superman character development because it set up great potential avenues later on down the line, or you hated it because it was a complete, total disrespect of the character's history or whatever people were upset about that week.
I liked it.
I liked it a lot.
I liked it for two reasons. Mm-hmm. One, it took me totally by surprise. I had absolutely no idea. And yes, 10 years after the movie came out, I have managed to stay so in the dark about this movie that I had no clue that, one, that it was done, and two, that it was a controversy. So I enjoy surprises like that. But as this final battle dragged on, and it did go on too long for me also, I kept thinking, okay, how's he going to end this? Because he has to get Zod off planet without killing him. How is he going to get him up, get him into space, and then launch him someplace where he can't come back or whatever they're going to do? And when he finally snaps the guy's neck, I thought, holy smokes. Talk about humanizing Clark Kent again. Only complaint about the scene, the scream afterwards.
Yeah.
It wasn't believable. It wasn't the best, you know. Little things that... Oh,
don't worry, Harry and Cavill. I still love you.
No, dude. Sometimes you have to take a leap of faith first. Mm-hmm. Man, if they had tied that into the religious discussion in the church, a little bit deeper than it was. Yeah. There was a great end line to that scene.
Yeah, it really was.
But they could have explored it just a little bit more, but it was great. All right. Mm-hmm. This is the first time I have seen a movie with buildings being destroyed that made me think about Oklahoma City and about 9/11, and it's the first time it's ever bothered me.
Yeah.
22 years later, but it bothered me. It was like that the gasoline truck exploding in the front of that parking garage coming down just reminded me of Oklahoma City, and I just thought, is it too soon? Maybe we shouldn't be doing these things. Yeah. Now,
I will say to their credit, they used that. Not well, but in Batman v Superman, it is used. Because in Batman v Superman, one of the big questions that's being asked is, do we need a Superman? If this is what's going to happen, is he going to attract more people like this?
Okay.
And, and all the collateral, spoiler alert, what happens in Batman v Superman is it opens with Bruce Wayne in Metropolis as the fight's going on, watching it, and that's why he doesn't like Superman. It's because he was there for it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And yeah. So it is used. It is used. So I want to give credit where credit is due.
Who's the general from Sokovia? Who goes about trying to destroy the Avengers?
Baron Zemo.
Baron Zemo, that's it.
Yeah.
All right. I started thinking about Baron Zemo and Baron Zemo's arguments against superheroes as I'm watching this movie. Yeah. Because that wasn't just a little bit of destruction in Metropolis. That was major destruction in Metropolis. I did like the floor falling out from under Superman and him just hovering without even having to think about it. That was pretty cool.
That was funny. The use of the powers was pretty funny.
And then him hitting the sign at the construction site that says 106 days since.
Yeah, you saw that too? I was watching it. My wife's on the couch behind me. And I'm like, oh, he hit the accident sign. And she's like, what? It said 168 days since last night. She's like, oh, I didn't notice that. I'm like, I did.
You know what? I had to stop the movie to finish laughing to make the note on it. I mean, that one was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was funny. Oh boy!
So I have always hated, as you did on the opening joke. I agree with you. I have always hated this. Clark Kent, not
Superman.
Clark Kent, you know. So when
before people get angry and are like, oh, but in the comics, it's because his glasses are made of Kryptonian glass that changes his eye color and distorts if people don't recognize him. Oh, Henry Cavill went into New York Square wearing the Superman outfit underneath his clothing and nobody recognized him. And it's like, no, that's not the point of the argument. The point of the argument is that Perry White, Lois Lane, and anyone else who sees Clark Kent in his day-to-day life and then gets up close and personal with Superman while he's rescuing people should immediately recognize him, glasses changing color, or color changing glasses or not.
I think Lois Lane did recognize.
Oh, she did, 100%.
That had to be.
No,
I am so happy.
She 100% because he didn't even try in this movie. He didn't even try to justify it. She saw him as Clark Kent.
Right.
She saw him in the Superman suit.
Yep.
And then she sees him all throughout everything else. And then he comes into the office. She immediately knew who that was. I'm wondering why the dude behind her didn't realize who it was, because he was at the Ground Zero explosion site too. Perry White should have seen Clark Kent in the interview and went, hey, you look kind of familiar. I think you were smooching with my top Pulitzer Prize winning reporter just a couple days ago in the smoking remains of my old building. I hate that stupid disguise. It's dumb. It was acceptable when it was Christopher Reeves because it was, what, the 70s? Early 80s?
I don't think it was really acceptable back then either. I mean, it was the same. It's problematic.
It's a dumb concept. It's a dumb concept. You have all this Kryptonian technology and the best you could do is a pair of glasses and a fedora. I call bull. Okay, sorry, rant over.
I will tell you this. With all of these, once again, we started talking about this movie. We didn't do any sort of a plot synopsis or even talk about we just assume everybody out there has watched the movie.
That's true. Well, it's also a 10-year-old movie at this point.
Yeah, so you're kind of safe to assume that.
It's a 10-year-old movie at this point.
I will say this. I enjoyed watching it.
As far as Superman movies go, it was good.
It was better than the Christopher Reeves movies. All right.
Yeah.
I think that Henry Cavill just has more charm.
Yes. He does.
There wasn't the hokiness, and we didn't have the comic relief of Gene Kelly.
Yeah.
Not Gene Kelly. Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
Because there was nobody dancing in the Superman movie. That would have been Gene Kelly. But I like it. So here's going to be the big surprise. I'm going to watch what follows. I'm going to watch more.
Okay.
Now
you have in order. You have Batman versus Superman.
Okay.
Justice League.
Okay.
And that depends on whether you watch the Joss Whedon cut or the Zack Snyder cut. So I don't know if you heard about that situation.
I heard that somebody made a movie and someone recut it and released it. And...
So Zack Snyder started the Justice League movie.
Right.
And then due to a situation with his daughter in the hospital, I believe it was, he dropped from the movie. So the studio went and got Joss Whedon, who did the Avengers movies, to finish up the Justice League movie. So Joss Whedon came in halfway through, did some reshoots, and reshot it and put out a movie that was pretty bad. And then Zack Snyder comes along and was like, I'm going to do the Snyder Cut, where he took all his footage, went back and shot some extra, took all his footage that wasn't spliced together and made a 6-hour cut of a movie divided into like 4 or 5 parts. A 6-hour cut called the Snyder Cut. And apparently, I watched it. I was drunk when I watched it because I wasn't getting through a 6-hour movie. I was done, so I can't even tell you if it's good or not. But I watched it, and apparently it did decently well. It was popular enough. And then you've got the other ones. You've got Shazam, and then Wonder Woman, and Aquaman.
I'm skipping Shazam. I'll skip Aquaman.
I think Shazam's the best of the bunch.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I mean, I have
honest,
to. Really?
Maybe. And it was fun.
Okay.
It was more like a Marvel movie. It was just kind of goofy.
Okay. Well, so here, all I was trying to say is this: if the movie made me want to watch more, then I can't say that it was a bad movie. Yeah. I liked it.
Well, and then with Batman versus Superman. There's two versions. There's the theater cut and then there's the director's cut, which added an extra 40 minutes.
Okay.
And I think it did help contextualize it a lot better.
Okay.
But that's the movie that has that awesome Batman warehouse
fight
that you want to see so bad.
I want to see the Batman.
You want to see so bad.
I want to see that fight also. So, Man of Steel. I enjoyed it. It was very definitely worth watching.
I'm gonna miss Henry Cavill as Superman. I'm gonna be honest.
I think that they're going to rethink that and ask him back.
They potentially will, but
who the heck are they going to replace him with?
No idea. Because now he dropped from The Witcher,
right?
Because creative differences with the showrunners who were straying from the source material, and Henry Cavill wanted to stick closer to him because he's a giant nerd. And then he was supposed to go back to Superman, but then James Gunn dropped him. And now someone has approached him about doing an Amazon series about Warhammer, which is that tabletop war game that he loves he wants to do so bad. And they've offered him a producer spot as well as a potential starring role. So they might not be able to get him back, if this Warhammer thing goes really well. So we will see what awaits us.
Remember,
on the future
after
of Superman.
movie 4, Daniel Craig was like, I will never be James Bond again. And then they offered him $25 million to do the final movie, and he was like, well, maybe I was a little hasty.
Oh, he wants to go back to Superman. He loved playing Superman. His dog's name is Kal.
He is such a nerd.
He is such a nerd. He's amazing. Go look up Henry Cavill interviews if you want some wholesomeness in your life.
All right, thank you for tuning in to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches for this episode.
Man of Steel.
Let us know what your thoughts are. What did we say that you don't agree with?
Mm-hmm.
All right, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content.
And comment down below your thoughts on Man of Steel. Join us at the table for these discussions.
Thanks for tuning in.
We'll see you next time. This hurt a lot. Okay, I'm gonna try to get this done in one take. You ready?
I'm ready when you are.